Well, the question is, how much worse can it get? And we are looking at the currency. We are looking at the South African rand, a historic low for the currency. The question is, what does this mean for the economy? What does this mean for consumers? And we're going across now to economists at Alternative Information and Development Center, Dominic Brown. Dominic, good morning to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, every day without fail, it's just bad news in this country. And looking at the currency now, a historic low for the rand, and this is of major concern to us as a country, as an economy, to consumers, and to everybody in South Africa. Just your reading, your analysis, your unpacking of the currency and where we are at this point in time, Dominic.
So there's a number of factors that I think we should look at in relation to these developments. The first is I think we must contextualize it within the unfolding of a global economy where you have volatile exchange rates. And when you have hierarchies of currencies where the US dollar remains supreme, when there are political issues that arises, there can be responses from the market that impact detrimentally on the economic situation within other countries, and in fact can reduce the independence of the economic policies of countries, particularly developing countries with weaker exchange rate levels. So this the latest reduction in the value of the rand has come about following the BRICS meeting that's taking place, and the fact that Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is being allowed to enter South Africa, and the US, in a situation where there's lots of geopolitical conflict in the world, is responding negatively to to the to the response to allowing Putin into the country. The second issue is that generally in response to um, in uh, in response to the depreciation of the currency, or in trying to safeguard it, we have been seeing our Reserve Bank hike interest rates. And the idea of hiking interest rates is that within this global economy, to make the rand more attractive and more lucrative to non-resident bondholders, those are investors coming from out of the country. What you see is the higher interest rate means it's more profitable to purchase South African bonds. And this is to try and safeguard the rand against large levels of capital outflows as so-called investors seek to purchase dollars as opposed to rands. Um, so, in order to address this, one of the main measures that can be done is to reduce or slow down the level of capital outflows or financial outflows from the economy through. Just excuse me for a second. Sorry, guys.
Yes, we know that there is a bit of disturbance in the background, but no problem, Dominic. You may continue.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So what I'm trying to say is that we can, in fact, slow down the level of financial outflows from the economy. And if you do this, you can safeguard the local currency against massive devaluation. So there are potential means, and the interest rate hike, interestingly, that took place last week, had an unexpected response in that it didn't actually result in an improvement in the exchange rate with the dollar. Reason being is that so-called investors could be getting anxious about the state of the South African economy. So if you look at, even though there's a higher interest rate and greater levels of profitability that can be achieved through purchasing rands, the problem comes in about the expectations about the future of the South African economy. And here, when you bring together the fact that we have high levels of load shedding, um, deep levels of budget cuts and austerity, along with tightening of monetary policy, would in fact dramatically slow down the South African economy, which could lead to even greater levels of unemployment and growing levels of inequality. In addition to this, there are other implications that arises from a devaluation of the rand. Okay, and this is why it's quite important that we are able to protect the currency, but not at all costs through interest rate hikes, which I'll come to in a bit. So the first thing is that we have 55% of total external debt is owed in foreign currency, mainly dollars and euros. So once you lose value in terms of your local currency, so we've lost more than 15% in the value of the rand over the past week alone. The implications, um, the implication is that automatically the cost of the loan increases dramatically by 10, 15, 20% due to the devaluation of the currency, which means that our debt levels grows as you see a depreciation. The second implication relates to the question of import costs. And we have to import Brent crude, fuel, because we don't have our own fuel really in South Africa, besides the synthetic ones that's produced by Cecil, which is very little in total, in comparison to our total needs. So when we import petrol and you're paying dollars for it, of course, the increased or devaluation of the rand and the increased cost of the dollar would increase fuel costs, which is likely to result in rising petrol costs within the country over the short to medium term, which has direct implications for many aspects of the economy, both in terms of production and consumption. And I think many people are aware of the impacts that fuel prices, uh, increased fuel prices, has um, for consumers and in the economy more generally, in terms of how it leads to rising traveling and food costs, amongst other factors. Now, while the improved exchange rate may help to improve exports and revenues from exports, this would only be the case if the exports and revenue from exports um, increases by much more than the increased cost of imports to improve the trade balance. Otherwise, we may see a declining level of the trade balance and a move even into a trade deficit, which has various other implications as well. So I want to make so of course we can see that this declining value of the rand has a lot of negative implications. But the hiking of the interest rate is a false solution. As I was saying, it not only means that you will see growing debt level costs and lead to a shrinking in the size of the economy, which may even lead to a recession in the not too distant future, is that we should look at alternative measures to protect the value of the currency through exchange rates, strengthening exchange controls. And secondly, we should be looking to reduce the levels of costs in society by putting in stronger price controls, capping the level and the increases in prices across the economy.
Yes, Dominic. In fact, there's just so much that you've actually said, and when one unpacks all the multiple factors that have impacted on the rand and the rand going pear-shaped and going the other way around. But the key issue here is from a protection point of view, as you mentioned, interest rates, hiking interest rates is not the answer. But the bottom line here is you and I, as consumers. we are going to feel the pinch. We are going to feel the effect of this weakening rand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Both in terms of, as I say, the impact that it will have on fuel costs and how this will proliferate to other costs in society, like food and transport, which people are spending large proportions of their money on. Secondly, it's going to hit people who are in debt, as we're seeing already high interest rate hikes in order to try and protect the currency. But it's not working as effectively as it should, and so we should be looking at other measures. Um, and so you'll see higher debt service costs coupled with rising costs of the price of living, and together this will dramatically reduce disposable incomes of already cash-strapped South Africans. So this would mean that it would mean an even greater tightening of the belts, unfortunately, when already we know people are already in very difficult situations.
Yes, Dominic, just from a policy perspective, can the powers that be, can the government, can Treasury do something to protect the rand at this point in time? Because we know there are many factors, and you unpack some of those geopolitics that have been playing out. We know the whole issue surrounding Vladimir Putin, Russia, America, and its Western allies punishing South Africa for our stance as far as Russia is concerned. Now, all these factors have been playing out for a very, very long time, and economists have been forecasting that the rand would breach the 20 rand per dollar a mark. So, all of this, the warning bells, the alarm bells, have been ringing for quite a while. Just from a policy perspective, can anything be done?
Yes. So, in the first instance, what has to be done is to slow down the level of money flowing out of the country. And this is done through strengthening what's called capital and exchange controls. And if you are able to slow down the level of money flowing out of the country, you can protect the demand of your currency, and thereby not. I'm almost done.
Yes, I think obviously Dominic is in a meeting. In fact, he's at work, and we're going to try and just see if we can't get back. Oh, sorry, Dominic. I know.
No problem. My apologies for that. So once you protect the value of the rand through stopping the outflows of capital, that way you can safeguard it from massive devaluation or depreciation. And this needs to happen within an integrated global economy where you have volatile exchange rates. And this is a situation that many countries are facing around the world, that in a situation where the dollar remains supreme. And what we are seeing unfolding in South Africa is just another example of how the geopolitical situation intersects with the economic situations that we're facing in the world at the moment.
Well, Dominic, let's leave it at there. And I do understand that you are busy. It does appear as if you've got to get somewhere. But for now, we thank you for taking time out and joining us here on Salam Media this morning. All the best to you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Dominic Brown, economist at Alternative Information and Development Center, AIDC, with us this morning regarding the rand, which has hit historic low and breaching the 20 rand mark. The time is just gone, 8:21. We come back, we will take a look at crime stats. And the question is, do South Africans know how to deal with crime in this country? We've heard about an increase in house breakings of late. So when we come back, we'll be joined by Mike Bolhace.